Hey, business building warrior, got a treat for you today. You love those episodes where we bring on a guest and they tell their story of success with the proven Amazon course. I got another one today. Hey, if you're a new listener, you may not be aware that we have over 1,000 episodes of this show. The vast majority of them are interviews with successful students who follow the ideas we teach on this show and then share what works, the journey, the challenges, the struggles, and how excited they are about their business. We've got no shortage of people that we can go to and say, hey, share your story, because we are a community that lives and breeds success in e-commerce, specifically with the proven Amazon course strategies, which is what this podcast is all about, sharing how to sell on Amazon successfully, specifically beginning with a very specific strategy, which is the same one that you're going to hear from Keith today. He's a replens seller. He's used the proven Amazon course along with coaching and the software that we now have been recommending for the past several months that simplifies the process down, breaks it down so simple, called 3P Mercury. That's what we do here. This is another great success story. Keith has been in ministry for decades as a pastor. Now he's stepping into the retirement season, and this is the business that he's growing, and he's so excited, having his first five-figure month here, way ahead of schedule, and he's excited to share the details. So let's get Keith on the line now, spend some time with him. You're going to be encouraged and inspired and equipped to go do the same thing for yourself if you're ready to get started. All right, let's get into the interview right now. So Keith, welcome to the podcast. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. It's good to be
Thanks
here.
for doing this. Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to diving into your story. I know a little bit about you. I mentioned it in the introduction, but man, I want to hear the rest of your story if you're ready to go.
Sure. I've been a pastor for 49 years, full time since 1976. And back in December of last year, I knew that we would be making a transition. I'm going on 72 years of age now, and I've had a very successful ministry, but I was looking for something else. I have delved into e-commerce a bit. I've sold some things on eBay. I'm a musician and I'm a trumpet player, and I've sold and bought all kinds of horns and everything on eBay in the past. But back in December, I just prayed that God lead me to the right place. I had not heard of Silent Jim at that point. I prayed, and I came across this ad, a $7 ad on Instagram that was yours, and I responded to it and paid my $7. Well, it was just a couple of days later that I received an email from you, and it said, "This is not a mass email. This is a personal email. If you respond to this, I will respond back to you." At that point, I kind of told you my story, where I was, and I'm at a big church in Jacksonville, and over the next year we'll probably be making a transition to retirement, so to speak, and I just want to get in the right place, And within 30 minutes, you responded back to me, and you you said, "Can we talk? I like to help pastors." So was just a few minutes later that we were talking on the phone. I noticed the number you gave me was an Indiana number. And I asked you, I said, I lived in Terre Haute, Indiana for 15 years and pastored there. And I noticed you have an Indiana number. And your words were, "I wondered if that was you." So
Right.
I guess we lived in Terre Haute at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I did a lot of things in the city. I did stuff for the city. I did some big productions for the Fourth of July and all that kind of stuff that the city had me do. And we went down to Smith Park and had big fireworks show and all those kinds of things. So anyway,
Our paths
that's
had crossed
yeah,
30
we've
years ago.
right. So what that did is that told me, Keith, you're on the right track.
Yeah,
There's a
those divine
connection there.
appointments, right?
There's a God connection there. So
Exactly.
I felt good from that point on.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately got into PAC and started going through the courses. And then I think it was in March, April, we did Kickstart with Robin. And after that, I went to the ASIN workshop in May with Brian and Robin prior to the conference, and went to the conference and enjoyed that. Met so many people at the conference I couldn't believe. I felt so at home. And, I went there by myself because My wife and daughter, I have a daughter, and she wasn't able to go at the time with us. So I went by myself, and I didn't feel like a loner. I mean, everybody was so welcoming. And, even after all the sessions of the day, I'd be walking around the resort, and people say, "Hey, Keith, come and join us," and just made some good friends. I made a lot of good contacts that I'm still in contact on a regular basis with at this point in time, communicate back and forth. So I felt like I was in a really right place. And everybody I talked to while I was there at the conference, I said, I'm brand new. I think I had sold maybe $1,500 worth of stuff at that point, total, all the way. I mean, it's like, and I was thinking, hey, yeah, I'm I'm a big shot now. You know, I found out I got a long way to go. But anyway, everybody I spoke to and came in contact with, I'd say, what about coaching? I'd say, you need to do coaching if you want to go somewhere fast and really make a difference. And it sounds like, you've got the ethic to do it. So I got signed up for coaching with Mike Alty, is my main proactive coach, and that's been going well. He's a great guy, and he's a deacon in church. I think where that's at in Indiana and everything. So we kind of hit it. We had some similarities in our backgrounds and our situations. So he's been a great asset. And I've just been diving in. Oh, I got involved with Jimmy Smith and the Evergreen system. We did the whole Evergreen system. He is just so good with all the SOPs and everything that he puts together. I've got a whole list here I can go back and refer to and put those things into action. Like, well, what did he say here? What am I supposed to do for this specific thing? So many different ways. In this business, I'm finding out there's 1,000 different ways to source and do things. And I've been working on 3P Mercury with Kang, attending some of his sessions on Mondays, and he is just a really great asset as well. I need some more work in that. I've been working. I've got about close to 8,000 leads built up right now. I just need better attention on how to use all that on a regular basis as we go. And I got started with I started using Nepedo in the beginning. I do a lot of live sourcing at the sites. I'm trying to stay away from just the I forget what they call it, but just going into a certain site and it has all the latest. I don't want to get what everybody else is seeing.
Yeah, the sales and the discounts,
Right,
right.
that kind of thing. So, and then recently I've been using, what I do too is I do a keep a search, and then I'll pull that into Nepedo and get some leads lined up there. And every night I do something like that to build up my leads. I've been building up leads, over the last couple months. I just recently started using Arbisource too, and I'm really enjoying that. I've had some great success with that. One of the things here, I live in Florida, and we have Publix supermarkets. It's a regional thing, and a lot of times regional things work out well because people like to get things. Maybe they lived here once and they they can't get Publix items anymore, that kind of thing. And one of the things that I liked lately is Arbisource added Publix to their site as well. And I can get on there, and every Thursday I can check out and see what BOGOs are this week. For the last 3 weeks, I've started picking up BOGOs, and some of those BOGOs. I mean, when you look at a BOGO, and the thing is, like with Publix, they recycle and have a schedule, and those things will be on BOGO again in X number of weeks. So I'm studying and nailing all that stuff down, and I've been going shallow and wide. I've found some products that begin to fly off the shelf, so I'll go back and reinvest that. I had one that I sent in 10 or 11, and in 5 hours after it hit, they were all gone. So I ended up sending in 50 of it, and in 2 days those were all gone. So I've sent in another 50. And I know that'll run this course, but every once in a while you hit one of those. Most of my sales have been from doing the dollar stores, low price things, that kind of thing. Maybe making $1 or $2, but the ROI is 100%, 200%, 300% on some of those things. And my game plan was just to get sales, in this to start. And I've got quite a few sales. I'm not sure what we're up to right now. I don't have it right in front of me, but we're getting ready. I was expecting to maybe to get to 10,000 in January. And right now, according to my dashboard on Seller Board, it looks like I might hit that at the end of this month, October of
Yeah.
25. So I'm
Nice. So
excited. I am thrilled.
3 months ahead
And
of your anticipated schedule, you're going to have your
right.
first five-figure months.
Right. And I was motivated because, I've got to live next year. you know, I won't have a church salary that I've had for 49 years and all those kinds of things, and I know nobody can live on Social Security and all those kinds of things. And, I've got some investments and some savings and all that kind of thing. And, my God's been faithful to me
Mm,
all along.
yeah.
And, when I stepped out to do this, I felt so much in tune that this is the right step to take. And there's been confirmation after confirmation of that. And, I just appreciate all of the Silent Jim team. I was super impressed with all the leadership that you have. And everyone is so personable. I mean, when I went, I introduced myself to several people at the conference, and like I went up to Jimmy. He just looked me straight in the eye and he said, "Keith," he said, "so good to have you. What can I do for you?" You know, and I didn't realize at that time that I would have a lot of online, with the Evergreen with him and the exposure and other people. I met some really good. You recently had one of my friends on the podcast. I'm drawing a blank here.
Had a lot of episodes. I might not be
Yeah, I know
myself.
you've had a lot of episodes. He's a newbie, but I've
Someone you
had
met in the community.
right
Yeah,
met in the community. Gus Anderson.
sure.
He was on, and he's pretty much brand new. I don't think he's actually sold as much as I have so far, but he's a great friend, and different ones that I've come in contact with, and some in New York, some in Indiana, some here, some there, some in Texas, wherever. So, I feel like I'm a part of a great community, and I've tried to be active on the Facebook group. I'm sure you've noticed lately. I've started posting some short 2-minute devotionals that are business geared, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The Lord just kind of dropped that in my heart the other day when I was laying in bed, and so you always say business warriors. Well, I said, well, how about Bible believing business warriors? So I've been dropping, a few of those in here and there, and getting a lot of positive feedback. And I feel like the community is such a giving community, and I want to be able to give back to the community. And God has blessed me, and I fully expect that in a few months, and I've been working hard day and night, and I realize that I've been putting systems into place, and I'm going to start farming some of this out at some point. My main employee is my wife right now, Cheryl. She is the best prepper. She's By the time I have the labels printed out and ready to go, she's in there bagging up and getting them all
Uh,
set. And it's just like this morning I got up and sourced some. I went and had lunch with a good friend, and immediately next door, well, I went to one store and went to another store because I had my list of things that I already looked at ahead of time that I wanted to pick up, was able to find those things right away, and got some new ASINs, and I mean, even when we went on vacation this summer to Texas, I did a lot of sourcing at HEB because my family lives right there, and that week that we were on vacation, I sent in a giant shipment of 30 some new ASINs, brand new ASINs, and I'm
that's
and
awesome.
up to like 150 activations right now. So I'm working hard at it. I heard that C was the thing. Keep sending in shipments. They said at least once a week. Well, I've actually done more than that. I do 2 or 3 a week, And recently I've done, a bunch of the optimized shipments where I sent in 5 boxes of this and everything else. And things are getting in a little bit faster. And I'm amazed, especially at this time of year. So I'm excited, and the sky's the limit as far as I can see. I believe I'm going to be one of those 7-figure sellers in no time.
Yeah, I believe so as well. You've got the right habits, you've got the right approach. You understand that that season of intense focused effort that's required to do anything
Right.
significant in life, really. I mean, it's hard to think of many exceptions to the big achievements you'll have in your life that don't require a season of intense focused effort, a bit of a mindset shift, and some new hobbies or habits. I mean, perhaps, but yeah, you're doing all the right things. Finding ASINs, putting them into 3P Mercury, building out your business. The fact that you're 3 months ahead of schedule to have your first $10,000 sales month is tremendous. Super excited for you on that
Thank you.
front, and that's the point where I really like talking to new sellers. Now, we've had many multiple 7-figure sellers and people at all different levels, but when they have that first $10,000 sales month, I know that they understand all the moving parts now, and it's just a matter of how aggressively they can step on the gas based on their time,
Right.
the finances.
Well, I've made a few mistakes and I've learned a few things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've been frustrated a few times, like we all have, where where
Absolutely.
where where I apply to sell something, I'm approved to do it. I buy the product, I send it in. 3 weeks later, I get an email from Amazon and says that you don't have approval to do this. So and so I do have a box back here of things that I'm going to put on eBay
Yes.
once things calm down a little bit.
Yeah, don't
Uh,
let that pile grow too
you know,
much. Call it the dead
no,
pile. Yeah, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, get
right.
rid of it, turn it into cash, yard sale.
Right.
Don't let
There
it sit
hasn't been
around.
too much of that, but there's
Yeah,
been a few of those, and
sure. You'll get a few extra
and they even
things.
got one returned back recently, and I had all legitimate. I buy from all legitimate sources. Most, I have the Walmart Plus and Target, Circle, and if I order stuff from like Office Max and things like that, I get free shipping. So I do a lot of online arbitrage to get some of those things shipped to me, and I get them quick and fast and easy. But I also do some things in the store because I found out, like, especially with any kind of food or grocery product, I want to see what that expiration date is so that I can easily be clear to send that in with no problem. Because sometimes you buy something online and it's already out of date. I've gone into stores and looked at the shelves and it's out of date, and I'll let them know. Did you know you had this out of date here? So I'm trying to stay legal and be a good citizen in the community and do everything right. I had a couple of hits on my account health, and it had gone down a little bit, but now I'm like up to almost 230 in the last month. So I'm going in the right direction. It was down like 20-25 points below that when I first had a couple of hits, and it was just things like that. The fact was is I was approved to sell something, and then somebody else filed a complaint about it. And it was a good ASIN to start with. There was a lot of other people on it, but you know that's behind me. I'm moving forward,
Yeah.
and
ASINs come and go, and you'll have those things happen where you're allowed to sell something temporarily and then not later, but every day there's more
right,
opening up to you. The catalog is continuing to expand with new brands and new ASINs constantly.
right,
So, yeah, that's the
right,
churn. And it can be a little frustrating. I completely understand.
yeah,
And that's the reality. Imagine the guys that have multiple 7-figure businesses doing this. It's a handful of little challenges per day, but you learn to just kind of let them roll off your back and you keep
yeah.
going and you check the boxes that got to be checked to solve the problems that day that have arisen. Meanwhile, you've
Well,
got a thriving,
up.
growing business.
I got hooked up with Jeff Schick,
Yeah, good.
and got him on retainer. And
Yeah,
in fact, I had a conversation with him just yesterday
cool.
because I got this one email from way back when I first started. There was a product, and they're looking at it to see if it's counterfeit or not. Well, they don't even have it anymore. They didn't let me sell it anymore. I have all the product here, and but I have all the receipts. I purchase everything at Walgreens So he said, just send that in. He said, you don't even have to. He said, I just read off a couple of things, what the email said, and he immediately said, well, does it say this? Does it say that? He said, yeah. He said, the worst thing that'll happen is that they will clear out your inventory on that thing, and you don't have any inventory there anyway. He says, if you want to send in just to clarify that everything you got is legitimate, and I'll probably do that because I want to be legitimate.
Hey, we'll get back to the episode in just a moment, but I've got a question for you. How do you know if you're really making money as a reseller on Amazon or Walmart? Well, Seller Central will show you your revenue, but it doesn't capture all the details, the refunds, the fees, the changing supplier prices, overhead. Well, that's why a lot of smart sellers are using Seller Board. That's the profit analytics software that's built to keep your numbers straight. Seller Board reconciles every sale, every expense in real time. They use first in, first out, FIFO accounting. So your profit reports stay accurate even when your cost of goods change from batch to batch. It now works for Walmart as well, not just Amazon, so you can see your margins across both platforms all in one place. And here's a game changer for resellers, Sellerboard's new reseller workflow. You can scan products in store with the mobile app, instantly check profit potential, add them to your buy list, then build offers, print labels, and manage inbound FBA shipments, all while Sellerboard keeps profit tracking accurate at each step. You can try it out for 2 months for free if you use the link silentjimdotcom/numbers. Check out Sellerboard for as low as $15 a month with a 2-month free trial at silentjim.com/numbers. Understand your numbers today with Sellerboard, the accurate profit analytics software. Let's get back to today's episode.
And I'll probably do that because I want to be legitimate, and want them, earn their trust
Yeah.
so that my scores keep going up.
Yeah. Keep your account health score up. Yeah, it's great having Jeff on retainer. He understands all the policy and legal issues and things. And yeah, you can bounce it off him or his team and they'll get you straightened out. Yeah. So that's the nice thing about the level you're at right now, Keith, is you've kind of experienced a little bit of everything you're going to experience. Now it's just a matter of scaling this up. As your business gets bigger, you're going to have a few more of these little challenges. You're going to have a few more of these ASINs that go dead. You're going to have a few more items in your dead pile there, that you got to figure out,
Right.
eBay, Facebook Marketplace, whatever. But the numbers and the money and the results as you continue to grow are going to make it more than worth the effort. And you can automate and systemize so much of this. It sounds like you're already kind of thinking in that direction, getting a
Yeah, we're
virtual
going that
assistant,
way.
maybe using a prep center instead of your wife doing the prep. Yeah, so you're on a great trajectory. Yeah, phenomenal job, man. So I'm always curious at students at your level, you've learned some things. You've had some surprises, you've got some tips for maybe some other newbies. What's on your mind there? Anything you've learned or anything that you would share with others who are on this journey that might be a benefit or helpful to them?
I think the main thing I would say is keep going. You know, I've always been a person that keeps going. I don't quit. There have been a few times in the last 49 years of full time ministry. There were times on Monday that I felt like quitting, but I never quit. I kept going. I stuck to it. I have three daughters. Our oldest daughter was born with spina bifida, and she's in a wheelchair, and she lives with us. She's fully grown in her mid 40s, and so all our life we've had a challenge. I have to wake up every day, and we never let that wheelchair and her situation stop us from doing things. And what we would do, we'd find a way to make life happen. And we still do that today. I mean, we're facing some struggles and everything right now today, but we're not going to quit. We just keep on going, keep on going. God's faithful to us.
Amen.
And you know, I know a lot of people. I mean, I had some other friends and everything who were looking at this business, and they're just frustrated and they can't. I said, you just got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. And all of a sudden, it starts opening up. When I started, I was ungated like in a handful of categories and brands, but now it's several hundred.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
it'll
all of a
continue to
sudden,
avalanche.
I
Yeah.
mean, after I made about 2 months of good, decent sales, there were little sales, but the numbers added up. And all of a sudden I would click on apply and said, "Oh, congratulations!" Because I haven't responded to any of those that say send in 100 receipt,
Right.
100 a receipt of 100 and
Nor
all that
should
kind of
you
stuff.
ever.
I
Yes.
I haven't
Right.
had to do any of that,
Yes.
and I've been, my first products. It's like I won't say what it was, but it's something I bought for $1 and sell for $10, and I make a couple dollars on it, so it's like 200% ROI. And my wife says, "Why would anybody pay that much if you could go to the local store and go in and I said, and it's just like I learned at the conference. It doesn't make sense, but it makes money.
Yeah.
So,
Well, convenience. I mean, a lot of people don't want to get in a
right,
car to go save a few bucks. They'd rather just be home and tap a couple buttons
right,
on their screen, So that's the opportunity. And then to the speed of which they can do that.
right.
That is huge opportunity. Not everyone lives near a Walmart.
That's right.
So,
Well, I'm at the stage now that I'm going past. I'm still doing some of those dollar things just for the volume wise because they keep selling, and
yeah.
it's not a big deal. I make a route once or twice a week and do my route. I have it all put down on paper. I have a list of where I want to stop, what I need to get, what all that kind of stuff to replenish, and I make those rounds, and I do that. But I'm looking now, and I've been finding higher profit items. I'm
Nice.
looking for above $5, $10. I found a few that I make $20 on one sale. So, I'm gauging it up. And if I can find a few of those that'll stick for a while, that'll be good. It'll get that up. But I think my ROIs are all good. I don't really have anything under 30 some percent. A lot of my smaller items are over 100%, 150%. So, I'm not losing money. When I first started, I broke even on a few things, but I'm gaining. And my quote paychecks. My first one from Amazon was like $3. And next week it should be close to $2,000. So,
Hmm.
and all of that's coming back is going right back into inventory.
Oh, good for you.
um,
Yeah, you're scaling
because I've been
aggressively.
working on spending $500-600 a week on just putting inventory in, and it's just all going back into it as long as I can do that before I start taking anything out.
Yeah.
And before I got into e-commerce, I've done photography and had a couple of photography sites, and I haven't made a lot of money on that, but I'm familiar with some of the things there. And being a pastor, I had a good tax guy. He did a lot of side gigs for pastors and all that kind of stuff. So I told him that I was switching over from the photography to the reselling and all that kind of thing. And I've got my apps to do all my travels and mileage and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm ahead of the game on all those kinds of things that maybe somebody that's just coming into it that
Yeah.
doesn't realize,
All
because
those
I mean,
deductions. Yeah. Every
all those
expense.
deductions make it a
Hmm.
big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
and
It
like
adds up.
this, this year, I mean, I'll make some money, but I'm not going to really make money as far as taxable money. Because I've paid for coaching, I've paid for, different things. I've got all kinds of mileage every time that I'm going into town, but that
Hmm.
all adds up.
Yes.
And all the supplies and this, that, and everything else. So I'm ahead of the game on that. I'm up on that, and I've got a good guy. All I have to do is just zip off the numbers, and in January I'll get a refund.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's part of that intense focused effort is also some of those initial one-time expenses, buying a printer if you need one, and those sorts of things. Like you'll do it once and then you won't have to do it again for a
Right,
very long time, if ever, on a lot of these things. But yeah,
right,
that initial baseline of spending is a little higher for that first season of this if you once you start to step on the gas. But I mean, you're doing everything right. You're building a beautiful business. You're finding new ASINs continually, which really is the fuel that runs this machine. You're on a great trajectory. And something else I'm excited about that it's harder for you to anticipate, but I've seen, at this point, hundreds of stories like yours and interviewed a lot of them on the podcast, is the doors of opportunity beyond just this that will soon begin opening up to you based on relationships and the connections that
right.
you're making, the brands that you're dealing with, the store managers, there's just other things that are going to fall in your lap because you're the guy that understands e-commerce in a lot of people's worlds, and
Right.
it's going to open up doors of opportunity for you. So keep focusing aggressively on this, but pay attention to the relationships, especially because I know you're a guy who understands the power of those divine appointments, just like you mentioned at the conference,
Amen.
right people, right time. And us having that Indiana connection was a confirmation for you.
Right.
Those kind of things are going to continue to happen if you put your business in God's hands and say, send me the right people that you're wanting me to connect with. I think that's why God gave us business. It's actually
Right.
in the Hebrew roots of why business even exists, is to make us interdependent and reliant on one another, and a reward system for that.
Right.
It
Well,
encourages us
the
to
first
connect.
day, my first day after quote I retired, uh, on that Monday morning, I got in my Bible app and opened it up, and it says, "I will supply all your needs according to my
Mm,
riches in
that's
glory."
good.
And I
Yes.
said, "That's a good way to start out."
My God shall
And
supply all my needs.
this month it's just like really broken loose, all except Monday, when all the outages that Amazon had. I was
Yeah,
going, oh
that's
man, I'm not
real.
making any sales, what's going on,
Yeah,
and I
well,
went
the
down to
internet's
like
down.
120 just
Yeah.
but
I wonder how
now
many
today it's
hundreds of billions of missed business that happened that day just
because
because of a little hiccup at Amazon's
right.
services. Yeah.
And even before the Amazon days, that first week I was hitting $300 and $400 days,
Yeah.
which for me that's exciting. I
It's
mean,
very
I
exciting.
I thought, when I first started, if I hit $100, that was amazing.
Hmm.
And one day was, and I had like 600 and something on one of the Amazon days. But then, after that, it kept going. It dropped down once or twice, but it's right back up again. And I'm averaging probably 350 a day, something like it, on a regular day.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm saying I'm going to hit that
That
10,000
10K
mark.
is coming. Yeah. Well,
It
Keith,
won't be
man, it's
long.
been
So
great having you on the show. Unfortunately, I've got a hard stop here coming at me in just a couple minutes. So if there's anything else you were really hoping to get into, let's get into that before we wind this one down. But I'm so encouraged and inspired by you. I know there's going to be other people who hear this who are going to say, all right, I like that Keith guy. I like what he's talking about here, and they want to get into it themselves. And so thanks for encouraging others to start down this road if it's the right time and they're ready to fit a business into their schedule, their lives. But what else is on your mind, if anything else that you were hoping to get to?
Well,
A couple
I would
minutes.
just say in closing that put God first in everything you do.
Mm. Amen.
You know, it's not your business, it's our business. He's
Hmm.
a partner with me.
Hmm.
And I'm leaning on a higher power. Now, in the natural, I need to get all the education I can get. You know, I mean, I've been a trumpet player since the third grade. So I've been playing trumpet for 60 some years. I've had the opportunity to play and back up. I mean, you live in Indiana. I'm sure you've heard of Bill Gaither. I've
Of
backed them
course.
up before. I played with Phil Driscoll. I was good friends with him. He actually
Considered the
introduced me.
best player of his era, if I
Right.
recall.
He's still playing. He's up there. He's about 10 years older than me. But we became good friends, and I started taking lessons from his teacher, believe it or not. And what I'm saying is, and I still play today. I'm sitting here in the studio, and I don't know if you see behind me, but I've got
I
I've
see a lot
got
of
probably
brass.
20. I have 20 horns in the studio
Yeah.
recording and all that kind of stuff. So I love music. That's my, one of my getaways. God's blessed me in that, and I'll continue to do that. But what I'm saying is, it's been 62 years, and I've never stopped learning. I
Hmm.
don't feel like I know it all.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
always looking for something new. I'm reading. I'm diving in to see if there's. And now, I mean, at my age, it's harder for me to play long, but I can play higher and all that, those kinds of things, because I've learned a lot more, but I still have a lot to learn. And I
Yeah,
know it's the same thing with this business.
it is.
I've gone through a bunch of hoops in these last few months. I know I've got a bunch more hoops to fly through, and I will always. I mean, because it's always ever changing, and there's always going to be something new. There's going to be a new tool, and that's the way it was in the ministry. There's new ways of presenting the gospel. I worked with kids most recently. I've worked with all kinds, with adults and everything, and did a lot of media and videos and production and all that kind of stuff. So I have all that experience. But the ways of doing it is different, but the gospel never changes.
Right.
So,
Right.
in the same aspect with this business, there's some basics that always stay the same, but the tools change. But you got to focus on the real thing, and be faithful, put God first, don't give up, keep at it, keep sending in shipments. You're going to see things begin to pop open, and don't forget to thank the Lord when those things happen, and give Him
Yeah.
credit for it.
A heart of
uh you
gratitude,
know
man.
I
It
give a lot
fixes
of
you.
credit
Yep.
to you and the whole team and everything, because
Mm.
I've learned an immense amount about from all of you. But on top of all that, every time I get up, I say, Lord, lead me today to the right place. Help me to find the right ASIN. I mean, maybe that's that's personal, but I think he does. And sometimes I'll go in the store and I happen to see the right thing, and that kind of thing, or I come across the right thing online and say, oh, that looks like something I need to check into. So, the Lord leads and guides, and put him first, stay faithful, keep working at it, don't give up.
Beautiful. Outstanding. Man, Keith, it's been encouraging hanging out with you, buddy. And I think a lot of people are going to hear what you've shared and be inspired and encouraged, maybe not just in business, but you just gave some great general life advice. Always be learning. You're never at the point in anything worth having in life. You're never at the point where you know all there is to know. You
Yeah,
just won't be. So you've got to be
that's right.
constantly learning, studying, training. And I love what you said. The basic principles of business, for example, have always been the same. You got to provide value to your customer at a price that allows you to keep a profit so you can stay in business. I mean, that's business. It always has been, always will be.
Yeah,
But the tools, the strategies, the things you're always learning, the opportunities that kind of shift over time, that's what we're talking about. Always learning, always studying.
that's right.
But yeah, this is a blue ocean of opportunity. I'm so excited that you've recognized that. And it's an honor having you in the community, buddy. Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
So glad to be here. God
Thank
bless
you,
you.
Keith. Well, hey, we're going to wrap this one up. And I could have spent much more time with Keith, but like I said, I have a hard stop. But I got some good news for the listeners who joined us today. If you enjoyed this, and this is one of the first episodes, maybe the first episode you've ever heard of our show, just scroll back in time. You're going to hear hundreds of interviews with proven Amazon course students. Some have been through our coaching program as well, but they all have one thing in common. They're sharing great stories of success at different points in their journey. And you can use that to inspire and encourage and motivate yourself, or to get informed and learn more, get equipped to do this model yourself. If you want to have a conversation with us about this business, we'd love to hear from you. You can text or call us anytime. There's also a calendar schedule link at silentjimdotcom/book a call. You don't have to write that down. I'll stick that link along with all the other links we mentioned today in the show notes for this episode. So you can just go click there and find it in the notes. Hey, God bless you, Keith. Thanks for spending some time with me today, brother. And to all
Thanks
the
so much.
listeners, God bless you guys. We'll have another great episode for you very soon. Thanks for hanging out today. Hey, thanks for joining us today. I've got one last announcement. It's a thank you to our sponsor today, Seller Board. You can find them at silentjim.com/numbers. Hey, seller, if you want to know your true profits, Seller Board tracks every fee, refund, the shifting cost of goods, plus a full reseller workflow. Everything from scanning in store to shipping your FBA shipments. Pricing starts as little as $15. And if you use the link I gave you, you get 2 months of a free trial. Get started at silentjim.com/numbers. Thanks for listening today. We'll have another great episode for you very soon.